Hello and welcome to this re-recording of AI Readiness, ensuring your company is ready to take advantage of transformational technology. Yeah, that's right. For those of you that attended the live webinar, we had a production problem and are re-recording this webinar. I don't know when you're watching or listening to this webinar, but from the time of recording, I've got a question for you. What happened roughly 2 years ago? Or to be more specific for everybody, what major event happened on November 30th, 2022? We're recording this webinar on December 5th, 2024. So just about 2 years and a week ago, what happened? The answer is ChatGPT went live. And from the time of ChatGPT going live, we've seen two major updates to ChatGPT. We've seen a plethora of competitors, and we've seen the world of technology, and in many ways, the world of business, at least from a perception standpoint, get flipped on its head. So as we talk about AI today, and we are going to be talking about AI from an overall perspective, not just from an LLM perspective, though I will say there's very much of a heavy LLM bias as that is becoming the major application of AI in go-to-market strategy. But as we talk about this, one of the things that I've seen is that there are basically two camps of people that have been built around AI. There are the promoters, there are the fanatics about AI who are insisting that the world has changed. It is the end all and be all. I'm exaggerating a little bit for purposes of illustration. And there are the haters. To be clear, I am neither. I'm not a promoter. I'm not a hater. My perspective on AI is it's going to have a huge impact, right? I don't think we can deny, will it be a game changer? Though I want to be clear, while I think it will be a game changer, I think it meets all of the definitions of game changer. It's not yet a game changer. It's at best right now a game enhancer, and far too often, it's a game confuser. Right? So I'm not here to promote AI. I'm not here to kill AI. I'm here to provide a pragmatic perspective of how your business should likely be thinking about AI and applying it. Now, want to make an important note. Things change fast. Things in general change fast. Things in technology change really fast. And things around AI change really, really fast. So the purpose of this webinar is directional. It's strategic. I'm sure that there are going to be specifics that I share. Heck, the specifics that I share today may have changed by the time I say it, let alone by the time you listen to it. So as you watch this webinar, what I want you to do is focus on the strategic implication, the choices, the decisions that we need to make as business leaders, less on the details about anything specific around what AI can do, can't do, how you do something with AI, etc. The goal today, again, is to provide a realistic, no bullshit perspective on how to think about and apply AI to your business. And I want to be clear, there is plenty of room for disagreement. I'm not sure I agree with everything that I'm about to share with you today. There are many aspects of this that we are still developing. We're working on ourselves. We're learning. I've changed my perspective on AI significantly over the last 12 to 18 months, and I'm sure it will change even further over the next 12 to 18 months. So if you have an issue with something that I say today, that's great. That's one of the best ways to learn. Is to listen actively and listen for some dissent. What do you disagree with? What are you unsure of? What do I maybe not have quite right? And please, let me know. I'd love to have a conversation about it. You can get me on the socials. LinkedIn's a great place. Would love to have a conversation for all to be able to watch and participate in. That's how we get better, right? So that's the goal today. How should we be thinking about and applying AI to our business? To do that, let's take a step back. One of the things that I said, about 7-8 years ago, and when I said it, people looked at me, at least what I was saying was unique thought. It's not so unique anymore. I hear other people talking about it before. But about 8 years ago, I said no one should buy technology. No one should use technology. What they should do is hire technology, right? Look at the utilization of technology in the same way you would look at hiring an individual, right? That was true then, it's true today. And let's remember that AI is just that. It's a technology, right? So don't buy AI, don't use AI, hire AI. What's the job to be done for AI? Now, for purposes of our conversation today, it's really going to fall into the overlap of two circles, right? It's about go-to-market strategy. What is go-to-market? Go-to-market comes down to the decisions that a company makes and the actions they take to reach their target customers, to win, and achieve a competitive advantage. Now, let me be clear. Are there companies out there that are going to be utilizing AI as a distinct core part of their competitive advantage? I have no doubt that there are, right? There are some that are already using AI as a distinct core part of their competitive advantage. They are very, very few and far between. The cost of utilizing AI to the level that would be required for it to become truly a competitive advantage, very, very expensive. It's why these companies are raising so much money, right? So when we think about AI, for the vast majority of businesses, and I believe for anyone that's watching or listening to this webinar, AI can contribute to our competitive advantage. It can help us leverage our competitive advantage. But let's remember, it's a contributor. It's not the advantage. And by the way, what I'm going to share with you today is not only available to you, it's available to everybody. Here's the second component, and this is actually where I think AI is going to have its biggest impact for most businesses that apply it correctly over the next 24 to 36 months, over the next 2 to 3 years. And that's enabling RevOps to perform at a higher level. Let's step back and define RevOps, right? Revenue operations is all about the strategic coordination. By the way, what does that mean? It means the decisions that we make and the actions we take. So it's all about the decisions that we make and the actions we take for all of our market-facing, revenue-oriented systems, processes, and activities designed to increase velocity. By the way, increase velocity, not necessarily speed. To increase velocity, optimize throughput. That's what we're looking for, everybody. We're looking for throughput. Revenue generated for the resources allocated. Or more specifically, profit generated for the resources allocated. To optimize throughput and reduce the effort required, so greater throughput with less effort, to solve for the customer, provide a terrific customer experience, and achieve revenue objectives. Can AI enable us to do this better? No question. Let's take a look at how some organizations are already taking advantage of AI. Staff utilizing AI report 80% improvements in productivity. 65% of global businesses in some way, shape, or form have adopted AI. And there were more than 250 million people using it by the end of 2023, with the estimation that it's going to be over 700 million by 2030. Now let's take a look at where AI is having its biggest impact. Customer service agents handled 13.8% more customer inquiries per hour, 59% more work-related documents per hour, and were able to handle 126% more projects each week through the utilization of effective AI. Are these game changer type numbers? Yeah, no question. Is this the average result from AI? Nowhere near. But this is the opportunity that AI represents. How is AI being utilized today? Take a look at this list and ask yourself, what do these items have in common? Now, I'm not going to answer the quiz question right now. I'm going to answer the quiz question in a few slides. But be thinking about it as we go over these next slides. What do these items have in common? Because as you begin to realize what they have in common, you're going to be able to apply AI better and more effectively in your business. 56% are using AI to improve and perfect business operations. 51% using it to improve their cybersecurity and fraud management. 47% harness AI tools in the form of digital personal assistants to make them more productive. And 46% are using AI for customer relationship management. Right? Very broad uses when you look at it through the lens of what these all have in common. So here's the question for you now. Where is your business in the evolution of utilizing AI? This is a model that we use. We call it the Organization AI Maturity Model to help define where are you and what is the plan for going forward, right? We start off, well, we're not doing it at all. So before you even show up on this chart, level 0 is you're not doing anything. Now, the truth of the matter is, unless you are operating with only paper, you are using AI, right? If your calls are being recorded and transcribed, if you're using tools like Grammarly and things like that, AI, you are utilizing AI. So for those people that are out there saying, if you don't use AI, you're going to be passed by, I guess you're okay because, again, you are using AI. Your journey with AI begins at the experimentation level, right? This is where you're piloting, you're testing, you're playing. Now, I want to be clear. Step 1 is experimentation, or level 1 is experimentation, right? That means most of what you're doing is actually going to be internal, right? It's not seeing the light of day, if you will, right? The reason for that is there's going to be a lot of mistakes in the experimentation phase. Make sure you embrace mistakes. If you're trying to figure out how to adopt and utilize AI today, and you're not embracing the idea of experimentation, testing, and failing, then you're going to struggle to implement AI. You're going to struggle to make AI work for your business. And if you're not careful, pretty soon, you'll be working for AI. Okay, that was a little joke. Level 2 is siloed or isolated usage. We're using it for very specific purposes. It's having business impact. It's seeing the light of day, but it's not really connected to anything broadly. Level 3, we're beginning to apply it to a broader set. We're connecting it to other systems. It's more of a holistic perspective. So we're partially synchronized. Level 4, we now have a connected experience. Now, to be clear, if you don't have a connected tech stack, you are not going to have a fully synchronized AI experience. As a matter of fact, if you don't have a connected tech stack, you'll probably not be able to get beyond level 2, the siloed, isolated usage of AI. And level 5, which only a small percentage of companies ever will need to get to, is where AI becomes a core part of your organizational operating system. It is intertwined, assimilated, and built into your organizational operating system. If AI represents a third of the promise that we're talking about, you need to have a plan in place to get to level 4. But please realize, you only get to level 4 by traversing through levels 1, 2, and 3. Some of you will choose to move to level 5. That's where you begin to really utilize AI to exploit your competitive advantage. Now, I get it. There's probably been no technology that I've seen in my lifetime that's had more FOMO, more fear of missing out than AI. But let's take a look. How are companies actually utilizing AI today? 22% of firms are aggressively pursuing the integration of AI across a wide variety of business workflows. 22% are at levels 3, 4, or 5, or at least claim to be at levels 3, 4, or 5. 33% of firms are engaging in limited implementation of AI. They're at level 2. 45% are still in the exploration or the experimentation phase. So if you're at level 1, that's okay. By the way, keep in mind, these surveys are primarily of enterprise level companies. So if you're more in the smaller mid-market space, these numbers are going to skew even more towards a higher percentage of firms being in the exploration phase. And that is totally okay, right? That's where most of us should be. I can tell you, we're primarily at level 1 with aspects coming in to level 2. So isolated applications of AI in our process. But for the most part, we're at level 1. And for what it's worth, we're seeing benefit from that. Right? Please remember this. If you remember nothing else, there's going to be 2 things that I want you to remember. This is one of those 2 things. So if you remember nothing else, please remember this next point when you think about applying AI to your business. And that is that AI is not a solution. Let me repeat that. AI is not a solution. AI is not a solution. What is it? It's an accelerator. It accelerates whatever's there. I find myself referring to it as super automation, right? It's automation without automating. That's what AI is doing. And let me tell you, automation without automating can be very dangerous. We all know that automation can be dangerous, right? What automation does is it magnifies everything. Small misalignments get magnified when you automate. Right? One of the things that's beneficial about the steps of automating is, well, for the most part at least, you have to be at least aware of the inputs to what you're automating. Right? You have to structure the process in some way. You have to design the process in some way to automate. One of the superpowers of AI is it doesn't require that structure. It takes unstructured data. It takes unstructured processes and automates those. So it is garbage in, garbage out times about 1,000%. Right? If you don't understand what the inputs are, there is no way you're going to be able to understand the outputs. So let's keep this in mind as we begin to apply AI to our business. Now let's go back to the quiz question that I asked a few slides ago. What do all of these things have in common? Where does AI excel? What does AI do well? AI does repetitive tasks extraordinarily well. Right? There's an analysis that we do as part of our RevOps assessments that takes a look at a business's underlying economics, what the spread of its customer base is, et cetera. This analysis used to take us about 2.5 hours to put together. And let me tell you, it was a ponderous 2.5 hours. It now takes us about 3 minutes to be able to do. Why? Because it's repetitive. It is a repetitive task. We have all of the information. Really, all we're doing is we're taking a set of unstructured data, we're getting it structured, right? Which is a rinse and repeat function. We've got all the information that we need for it. We're pulling the data and reviewing it, right? AI does a phenomenal job of that. That's the first question that you should be asking. What are the repetitive tasks that could be better done by AI? Now, what does AI not do well? It doesn't do open loop tasks. If we asked we use Claude primarily, although actually the analysis that we do it in ChatGPT, the example that I just gave. If we ask ChatGPT to tell us what to make of that data, that's dangerous. You see, the thing about data is super powerful when it aids our thinking. Data is super powerful when it prompts questions. So we're able to use AI to shorten the time that it takes us to put data into a place where we can begin to form hypotheses for it. But if we ask AI to form that hypothesis for us, that's going to be dangerous. I'm not saying it's never going to be right. I'm not saying it's never going to be helpful. But we'll never know which is right, which is helpful, which is not helpful. By the way, it can be very good in the initial brainstorming phase. What are some hypotheses we should consider? AI can be great at that. That's a high repetitive, low risk task. That's something AI is great at. But applying judgment, that still requires us. That still requires people. So as we think about applying AI to specific areas of our business, our recommendation about the order of priority should be look at your service side. How are you serving your customers? How are you managing customer success? Things like that. That is likely the largest impact and the most direct impact that AI, especially generative AI, is going to have on you. Why is that? Service tends to have more repeatability to it. We're working with existing customers, so we know more about what's happening. We have control over more of the overall process for what's going on. So there's lots of opportunities to provide productivity enhancements. The second area is marketing, really looking at that through an assist level and kind of collaborating with AI. I'm going to share an example of that in just a little bit. And then the third area is sales. Now, one of the things that we're seeing is it's almost reversed the way people are thinking about this, or at least sales is on the top. And there's no question that if and when AI can have a direct impact on our sales motions, is that the area where it could have its biggest impact? Unquestionably. The challenge is, especially when you're looking at sales, but marketing as well, remember that AI is still an algorithm, right? It's still using historical data to determine where it's going to go. So it is managing everything by looking in the rearview mirror. So first off, it only does well when the future output is supposed to look like the past output. Sales is built on change. Sales is built on variance. Right? All the value in the sales motion occurs with what was unexpected. That is not something that AI does well. Sales is built on judgment, right? The ability to generate an insight, a counterintuitive idea that leads people to think differently about their current situation. That is not something that generative AI does particularly well. Now, where AI can have some good impact on sales is through the use of agents, the ability to aid in doing research. Though keep in mind, those AI agents that say, here's the summary about the company that we look at and peruse, remember what's happening there is AI has done the thinking for us, and we're taking a very passive act. What I have found when I work with salespeople on their research, the value, it's kind of like planning. The plan's not particularly valuable, but the process of planning was valuable. It's the active element of looking at, thinking, and applying. So as you use agents to save time on that high repetitive, low value element, make sure you add components so that your salespeople remain active in the process and are learning and applying what the AI agents are bringing back to you. This is where the AI readiness paradox comes to play. It would be foolish to think that AI won't be a game changer. I want to emphasize, I firmly believe it's going to be a game changer. It has not been one yet. But again, it would be foolish, I think, at this point to predict that it won't be a game changer. The other side of it, however, is that rushing to implement it without proper preparation could be equally or more detrimental. So trying to jump in too fast can be every bit as dangerous and damaging as ignoring it. The key for you is to find the right balance between progressing with AI and being prepared for it. And this is where the prime directive comes to play, right? Remember, AI is not a solution, it's an accelerator. The business process should be driving your business processes. Your strategy should be driving how you're utilizing, experimenting, and applying AI. The business process must drive AI. AI should never dictate the business process. Remember, AI is not a cure-all. AI has its set of challenges as well. Some of the primary areas where you will experience challenges applying AI, if you haven't already, are first, as I mentioned, AI is basically super automation. It is automation without automating. And so if you don't have clarity in your business process, the ability to get lost and for AI to read the wrong thing, that increases, and you'll never know the difference. Like, we all know what happens when an email goes out and it's got the wrong subject line and we go, oh, I forgot to change the subject line. I mean, I don't know if that's ever happened to anybody other than me. But at least when that happened, I knew what to do. I knew what caused it. I knew how to fix it. And I knew how to apply processes to make sure that it didn't happen again. With AI, that's often not the case. You've got to have clear hypotheses going in so that you can manage AI and you don't have AI managing you. The second thing is that AI is filled with biases. And one of the biggest biases of AI is ask and you will receive. Whether you're asking the right question, the wrong question, whether an answer exists or not, AI is going to give you an answer. AI is programmed to answer your question. As a matter of fact, what generative AI is designed to do is to be a great guesser at what you want. It wants to give you what you want. It is going to give you your interpretation of what you want. How often have you asked for a report only to realize that the report you asked for wasn't going to give you what you were looking for? And it took what is sometimes a frustrating conversation to become aware of that. Well, you're not going to experience that if you're using AI bots to create your reports for you. And by the way, how often have you asked somebody to put a report together and what they gave back to you wasn't what you thought you asked for? That's going to happen as well. Remember, that bias to give you what you want, to give you what it thinks you want, can lead to lots of other challenges. Do you remember playing the game telephone when we were kids? You said something to somebody and they repeated it and went down the line, and what came out was totally different. Kind of like playing Whisper Down the Lane. That's another challenge. If you haven't thought through what you're looking for, the way that you ask questions becomes increasingly important. And let me tell you, one of the things that humans are not designed to be great at is forming the questions that they have. Right? It's really easy to get confused because we're not asking quite the right question, or we're not asking for quite the right thing. Right? AI is going to do the interpreting for you. That's why this new job of prompt engineer has become a thing. So let's talk about what is the most popular, at least from an awareness standpoint, the most popular utilization of AI, and that is Gen AI, the utilization of large language models to create things for us, give us answers to questions, And how do we do it versus how should we do it? Well, the dominant way, and I've watched many people do this, the dominant way that people use Gen AI is we use it like a search engine. We give it a prompt. So let's say we're creating some content. Let's say we're looking to utilize AI to help us generate some content. So we give it a prompt. It gives us an output. We edit that output, and then we post. And then we wonder why our content isn't working. What's the right way to do it? Well, the right way to do it is, first off, you spend a lot of time training it. You give it lots of input so that it's capturing your voice, not just a synthesis of your voice. It's capturing what you're thinking about it. You prompt. You train again. You prompt again. Sometimes you prompt again after that. Then, after training and prompting and training and prompting, then you've got something you can begin to work with. You can begin to edit and post. Now, is this easy? No, I wouldn't say it's easy. Is it easier? Does it create tremendous productivity? Yeah, it does. If you've done the work, right? If the ideas come from you, AI can synthesize those ideas, and in some ways can even help you find your voice. But if you're not doing the work up front, it's not going to produce the output. So let me share with you a story of how we put together a pillar piece of content that's going to be coming out very soon around forecasting, where typically this would have taken us 10 to 20 hours to put together. And I might even be underestimating that. And it would have easily taken us 2 months or longer to actually do. Right. And the reason that it would have taken 2 months is just because of all the things that we have. We're not a super large team. So it gets worked on as the time permits. Then other things come up. Then it gets worked on. Then it gets picked up. Then other things come up and so forth. And so the chronology of the time becomes the challenge. We were able to sync this process from 10 plus hours over a 2-month period to something that took 2 hours. And we were able to do it in a day. So here's the first thing that we did. We downloaded 4 podcasts. We transcribed those podcasts, did some quick cleanup of the intros and exits so it only had the core content, and we fed it to Claude. Claude is the LLM that I happen to use most. I find that it gives me better output. Use the LLM that fits for you. We fed Claude and we prompted it to give us basically an initial expanded outline. It kind of took everything, put it into an order for us, crafted the general story and narrative that we were looking to tell so that we could look at that, analyze it, and found a number of gaps. And from that gap, we fed 2 more previous articles that we'd done on forecasting. We prompted Claude again. And then from there, for certain areas of the content, we prompt it to expand or deepen. After that was done, we edited it, and it's going through the process now that it'll post in the next week or so. My team has the timing for that. But we were done with it in a day, and now we're just building out the page. If you do the work up front, AI is not magic. You've got to do the work. And I'll tell you, if you don't do the work, don't be disappointed with the result. All right, let's talk about what you need to do to be ready to take advantage of the transformational technology that we call AI. And the first thing that you need to do is you need to conduct an AI readiness assessment. And while this recommendation is a little bit self-serving, you don't have to use us for this, I'm going to highly recommend you utilize an outside resource to do the assessment, because oftentimes it takes the eyes of someone who's not involved, if nothing else, the eyes of someone who's not involved in the day-to-day, to be able to get a fresh perspective to identify where the gaps are. Far too often, we see the filler of the gap even when it's not there. There are 5 critical components to your readiness assessment. The first thing is your data architecture, clean, clear, and ready. Is it ready to stand up? By the way, you talk to companies that are utilizing AI, and I will tell you what they are losing sleep over is their data architecture and structure. Even those who are utilizing AI well, that is the game. Are your business processes clear? Are you clear where the connections are and how things work? What's the state of your infrastructure? Remember, AI is going to accelerate your tech stack. It's not going to replace it. If your infrastructure isn't there, focus on that first. There's lots of gains to be made by having a connected tech stack, by maturing your tech stack before you worry about maturing your AI. AI requires people to behave differently. Right? Too often we promise, oh, you don't have to do anything different. AI is going to come in and take care of it for you. No, that's not going to happen. It requires us to behave different, and it requires different skills. Look, I understand why people are scared about the changes that AI is going to bring. Because, well, by the way, when we talk about technology being a game changer, and then we say, and here's what that means, we're kind of discounting the game changer. We don't know what the world is going to be like post AI reaching its potential or a fraction thereof. And our training needs to be different. We need to train, what is our learning and development process? How are we training our people? And are we training them to be ready for an AI-enabled world? This is the time to get serious about mapping your go-to-market processes. Yeah, that's right. Detailed and focused, breaking apart what are all the things that we're doing. Remember, AI is automation without automating. One of the rules of automation is don't automate something that you haven't done successfully manually, right? AI breaks that rule because we're going to do things that we haven't done by definition, right? The nature of taking that unstructured data. So if we're not clear on the processes to guide the hypotheses for how we develop and apply AI, we're going to lose control of our business. We're not going to gain control. As I mentioned, establish a strong foundation for data management, architecture, and structure. Understand how your database works. Understand how the data connects with other applications. Be clear on that. You're going to be able to find places and the prompts that you have and the things that you're trying to do and the productivity that you're looking to enhance. You'll start seeing the juice for the squeeze. Build a roadmap for AI adoption. Look, we've got time. We don't have time to be ignoring it, but we've got time. And for what it's worth, transformation takes a good year to 3 years to happen. So let's get clear. Where do we need to be a year to 3 years from now? What is our go-to-market strategy? What is the company that we need to be a year to 3 years from now? Where are we now? What are the key things that we need to do so that we meet our objectives, hit our numbers, and our people are successful? That's what has to happen over the next 90 days. Use what we call the enablement zone to stage, operationalize, systemize, and optimize those changes. Don't try to do everything at once. Focus where are the areas that you're experimenting. How do you begin to apply your successful experiments in isolated cases? How do you begin to synchronize across multiple motions? What you'll find is, to quote the Navy SEALs, slow is smooth and smooth is fast. Slow down the process, increase the velocity, generate transformations over 12, 18, and 36 months. This requires that you start small and you take a growth mindset. Remember, growth mindset means you're going to make mistakes. You are in the experimentation phase. Almost by definition, if you're watching or listening to this webinar, you're in the experimentation phase. It's a great place to be. Embrace it. Make mistakes. Don't make mistakes blindly. Be careful how you're applying it so that those mistakes don't have big impacts. What you'll do is you'll accelerate your rate of learning. And as you accelerate the rate of learning, you'll accelerate the rate of impact. Here's the second thing that I want you to remember if you remember nothing else. The most important thing you can be doing over the next 6, 9, 12 months with AI is start training the data. And by the way, for anyone that's out there that's saying use our AI pilots or co-pilots, it's easy peasy. Beware. If someone is telling you that you don't need to train the data, then understand at best you're using somebody else's data. Now, I don't know. Maybe that works for you. Most businesses I know that if I'm managing my financial situation, I want to see my books, not somebody else's books. Although technically, I guess that depends on the month. There are some months that I would much rather see somebody else's books, but it's not going to help me run my business better, right? You need to train your data. Remember, what an LLM does is it guesses at what you want. It takes a look at all the data that exists and it tries to guess what is the most likely output that you want. If you don't do significant training, the most likely output that you want is the output that everybody else wants. It's the average. Too often, the way we utilize large language models, the way we utilize Gen AI, is to be the epitome of average. Now, in a discipline that's built on differentiation and distinction, that's a dangerous place to be. Build internal expertise and champions. Who are the people that are playing with AI? Who are the people that are learning? How do you leverage them into your learning and development? How do you leverage them into your learning organization to drive this as a core component of how you operate? Be clear to establish a corporate point of view and a policy. The time has passed, and I'll admit something. This is something that we're working on refining to complete, is to have a clear policy for the application and utilization of AI. But don't just have a policy that you ask people to comply with. Be clear. What is your company's point of view on the role of AI, on how to use AI, how to leverage AI? Increasingly, this is going to be a question that prospective employees are going to have. Build it into your culture. Integrate it with learning and development. And lastly, stay strategic. Now, I don't mean strategic in the sense of big picture and vision. I mean strategic. Strategy is all about the choices you make and the actions you take. And remember, the objective is to maximize throughput for effort and resources, right? Our job is to run our business, right? That's the job. AI's job is to enable us to run our business more effectively and efficiently. Keep the focus on business performance. Keep the focus on throughput, and you're likely to protect yourself from the biggest mistakes that you can make, and you'll take advantage of the biggest opportunities for you. That's our show. I want to thank everybody for staying with me, for watching, attending. If we can be of any help or assistance through the process, please don't hesitate. If you have any questions, reach out to us. You can get us at Lift Enablement. Plenty of opportunities to connect. I thank you, and please let me know what you thought of the webinar.